Hello gorgeous, I'm Gala darling. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be talking about what do you do with comparisonitis and feeling jealous when quite frankly, you just don't want to get out of bed. That's what we're here to talk about today. I have got some solutions for you. Let's get into it. All right, honey, so we gotta start with one of my very favorite quotes that I think is just so apt in this situation. And by me telling you this, I wanna just jolt you out of that place where you are obsessing about everyone else. And here it is. Comparison is the thief of joy. I'm literally ringing a bell, because that is how real that quote is. And before we get into like tactics or what to do or anything like that, I just want to say something very important to you, and that is that no matter what area you're experiencing comparisonitis or jealousy in, you need to be reminded that you are amazing, that there is nothing wrong with you, that you are doing a beautiful job, that you are killing it, and that punishing yourself in this way, feeling worse and worse all the time, is actually not working for you, as you know. So I guess let's start with the obvious stuff. And the obvious stuff is that being in a state of comparison and being in a state of jealousy really sucks, and it's so painful. And the reason I'm making this video is because you are not the only person who struggles with comparisonitis and jealousy. I made this video because I was struggling with it this morning. Yes, this very morning I was struggling with this. I was feeling anxiety about this, and I was thinking, shit, you know, if I am having trouble with this and I know other people are too, let's talk about it in a way that's meaningful and actually useful. We can feel comparison and jealousy in so many areas of our lives. And for you, it might be your career. For other people, it might be their romantic relationships. For some other people, it's about like how their body looks or how much money they have in the bank or their health or whatever, right? We all have a different area that we tend to do this to ourselves in, and some of us, lucky people, choose to do it in every area of our lives. So that's always an option, but it's not one that I recommend. I really encourage you in every area of your life to run your own race, by which I mean it's actually really valuable to totally put those blinders on and not be distracted by other people. Think about horses running in a race. If they could see all the other horses, they'd get skittish and crazy. That's why they have those things on their eyes, so they can't see everyone else. And what happens when we're looking at everybody else, we start to morph and change. We think like, oh, maybe I should be more like this. Maybe I should be more like that. And when you do that, you may think like, oh, I'm just improving myself, or I'm trying to keep up, or I'm trying to be a better person. But when you're basing how you should be on everybody else's example, you're not actually being true to yourself. And what happens when you do this is you are losing your radiance. You're losing your magic. You're losing the spark that makes you, you. And you're completely one of a kind. And I know that that sounds cliched and hackneyed, and you've heard it a million times, but today is the day that I want you to really hear it. So I know it's really tempting to try to compare yourself to others. Oh look, I've got a visitor. Do you want to be in my video? Do you want to say hi? Oh, this is Weetsu. Hi Weetsu. Now you're on YouTube. And this is what it's like to be a parent, because it's rough. I'm telling you, it's rough. It's not for the faint of heart, you know. So I know that it's really tempting to look around at either people in your industry or people that you know or people on Instagram, that's a big one, and compare yourself to them. And the thing that really sucks about life is that there will always be someone who is better, smarter, more advanced, more coordinated, in better shape, more sexy, more adventurous. Like, there will always be someone who is more something than you. And we get really tripped up on that, but this is like an impossible race to run. You can't go around your life worrying about that, because unfortunately there will always be someone better than you at some area of your life. But you know what's so interesting? The flip side of that is that there will always be someone who's not as good as you. Someone maybe who looks up to you. Someone who is not as successful, not as wealthy, not as coordinated, not in as good shape, not as confident, not as sexy, whatever. And it's so interesting because we don't pay attention to that. We don't even notice those people. We just take it for granted. And instead, we have this laser vision on people who are better than us. And what is it really doing for us? Is it growing us? Is it making us feel better? Is it pushing us to go further? Usually it's not. Usually it just makes us spiral into a place of miserableness and depression and anxiety, and we don't want to get out of bed, and we feel like, why should I even bother? It's all been done before. I have nothing original to contribute. And that is simply not true. We never pay attention to the people who are like not as good as us. And instead we use the people who are better than us as a kind of weird punishment device, some kind of sadomasochistic flogging system. And as my girl Louise Hay says, you have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. So I want you to think about the people that you really look up to and you're really inspired by and you're really excited by their very existence. And I want you to ask yourself, do those people compare themselves to others? And look, the truth is that people who are really big, maybe it's Beyonce, maybe it's Madonna, maybe it's Steve Jobs, whoever, those people probably do look at other people, and maybe sometimes they do compare their output and they compare their legacy and they compare their impact or a number of records sold or whatever. But the point is, they don't let that looking around stuff color their life experience. They don't let it make them shrink. They don't let it make them feel unimportant. They just stay playing their own game. And that is so important and so vital. These people don't let the comparison-itis destroy them. They use it as fuel. They use it as inspiration. They think, wow, okay, Michael Jackson did this. Let me see what I can do. And it's not about comparison. It's about, I'm inspired by this. I'm excited by this. I'm invigorated by this. What do I do? What happens if I take that magic and apply it to my own life? What could I do? What could I really achieve? Because the thing about comparison is that it really just leads to people pleasing and changing and trying to fit into a box that was never yours in the first place. And then, like I said earlier, you lose all your magic. People pleasing and even codependency is so dangerous in that way, because while we're busy running around trying to be everything to everyone, we completely forget who we are and what makes us so special, so magical, so unique. You sitting there watching this are completely unique. There is so much about you that is amazing and juicy. And when you're obsessed with what everyone else is doing, you are completely ignoring that. And don't disrespect yourself that way. Don't disrespect yourself by being like, gee, I wish I was like Sally. No, the fuck, you don't. You don't. You want to be you, but better. You want to be the most incredible version of you. And that is what we're about to talk about right now. So, what can you do when you feel yourself going down the comparison-itis spiral, or you're feeling really jealous about what someone else is doing? What do you do to stop it in its tracks? Well, my advice may be a little unconventional, but that's probably what you're here for, so let's talk about it. My advice to you is to get high on your own supply. What does that mean? You're like, Notorious B.I.G. sang about that being a risk. I don't know if that's what I should be doing. So my friend Erin May Henry has this really cool concept that she's been talking about for a while, which is about becoming the coolest person you know. And I love this idea because sometimes in our lives we meet people or have friends that are like always doing interesting things, and they always have great stuff to report back, and they're trying things and going on crazy adventures. And we forget about the fact that we could be doing all of those things too. We could go out and take those risks and try those new things and take on those challenges. And in fact, if you decide that you do want to become the coolest person you know, the great thing about that is that you get to define what cool is. Maybe the coolest person you know has like an entire house covered in crochet. I don't know. Maybe it's someone who like does lots of volunteering. Maybe it's someone who does like adrenaline pumping adventure sports. You get to decide and what is the word? You get to define what the coolest person you know means to you. And often I find when we're looking around at everybody else and we're feeling deficient and we're feeling like we're not good enough, not cool enough, not interesting enough, not sexy enough, not smart enough, not wealthy enough, whatever, it's because our life has become a little bit stagnant. Like you're a little bit bored of your own life. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but it's true. And sometimes we get really comfortable in our old routine. And the thing about something being comfortable is that it's a habit, it's a routine, it's a groove that you're in, but maybe it doesn't actually feel good anymore to be in that groove. And so what I'm saying to you is that you have the power to choose a new groove. The Empress's new groove. It's all on you, honey. You get to do that as soon as you decide it's time. Like on one hand, you might be feeling kind of deficient because you're looking around at other people a lot. But on the other hand, it might be because your life has just become boring, ho-hum, crickets. You have nothing to write home about. You're not doing anything that's challenging you or pushing you or helping you become the person you know you're capable of being. So here's what I implore you to do. Get high on your own supply, fall in love with your own life, romanticize your life, as they say, but also don't just like do things that are comfortable. My life expands dramatically, exponentially. In fact, I become a super expander, which I have a podcast on, when I do things that really push me, challenge me, stretch me, move me, grow me. That is where the really good stuff of life is, not in just doing the same old thing all the time. How boring. A fate worse than death. You know what I'm saying? So learn a skill, take a class, be a beginner, take on some kind of wild challenge that shocks even you. Do something that is really surprising even to yourself. Do something that your parents say, huh? Do something that when you tell your friends about it, they're like, I'm sorry, I thought I was hanging out with my friend that I know and I don't know who this person is. Go crazy, dude. Change your name, wear a wig, flee the country, be notorious. Just live your life. Do something fabulous. I promise you, when you are doing these things, when you are really pushing your own envelope, you're like, that's my bad miming, pushing on an envelope. When you're pushing your own envelope, you will not be that interested in what other people are doing. And so really the solution to being in comparisonitis and being in jealousy is to make your own life so juicy, so rich, so lush, so soul-shaking, so gasp-inducing that you don't have time to look at anyone else. And if you see them doing XYZ, you're like, that's nice, but I'm over here doing this and I love it and I'm so fulfilled. And I'm doing it because it feels good to me, not because it looks good on Instagram, but because it actually genuinely matters to me. And something I like to use as a good filter of like, should I do this thing? Should I not? Should I set this goal? Should I not? Is I ask myself, if I couldn't share about the final result of this on Instagram, would I still want to do it? And if the answer is, well, no, then I don't do it, because that is just your ego setting traps for you. It's a good rule of thumb. So I guess what I'm really encouraging you to do here is to become a creator of your own life rather than just a consumer of everyone else's life. And social media has made this so easy, right? We're constantly scrolling Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, looking at other people's lives, wishing we had them, but those people that are doing these things, living these great lives, taking these risks, whatever it is that is like making you feel jealous, you totally have the ability to do that. There is nothing different between them and you. You get to do that right now. So don't let this be just like a video that you're like, cool, thumbs up, subscribe, here's my comment, okay, bye. I really want you to ask yourself, like, what would I need to do in my own life to feel like I was living it to its utmost potential? And this isn't about like, oh, I'll be happy when XYZ. Because doing the things that you really love and that really light you up, that is the joy of it. It's the joy of the journey, and it doesn't matter what the result is. If you start taking horse riding lessons, your goal, for example, might be to like place in a competition. But that is not really where the juiciness is. Even if you place, that's great, but the glory of that will last like 30 seconds, if that. What's gonna feel really good is you going to the horse riding lessons, learning to get better, learning to be like one with your animal, and doing all these new things and pushing yourself and enjoying the process of who you become as you do it. It's really not about the goal itself. That's just kind of a sexy carrot that we like to dangle, but it is not the be all and end all. So my darling, I guess what I'm really trying to say here is that your feelings of jealousy and your feelings of comparisonitis are actually amazing data that you can use to craft the beautiful life that you've always wanted. Let this be your fuel. Let it be your inspiration. Let it be something that propels you to more, rather than suffering, struggling, looking at other people and wishing you could. Because you can. There is nothing between you and that person. The only difference is that they've decided to go ahead and do that thing that you're too scared to do. Everybody is scared. Everybody has limitations. Everybody has feelings of like, I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not worthy of doing this. I don't think I'm ready. I don't know how. And the difference between the people who are afraid and never do anything and the ones that go on to live those amazing lives is they feel the fear and they do it anyway. And that's what I want for you so badly. So I would love for you to comment below and tell me, what is an action step that you are gonna take to be, like my friend Erin says, the coolest person you know? What would that look like? What is your step number one? I want you to comment it in the box below, and then I want you to go and do it. Like Yelp it, look up the classes, make the phone call, send the email, clean out your closet, whatever you've gotta do. It's time, let's go. I love you, I'm cheering you on. If you liked this, be sure to hit the thumbs up, send it to a friend, subscribe. I'd love to see you in the future. Mwah.